Welcome to Michelle Bell's Gaming. I'm your host, Michelle, with another review for you. Today, we're going to be reviewing the Retro Freak NES cartridge adapter. So this is something that was new, released here in Japan by Retro Freak, and it was designed for clone systems that were popular in Japan in order to play American NES games, if you want to. This is a really cool little product. It's not very expensive. I think it was around $20. But it does essentially what you would expect. It allows you to play the NES games on a Japanese system. Now, if you look at the back, you can see that it was designed in mind for the Retro Freak system that is sort of like the Retron 5. It's a multi-system clone system. It does work on other clone systems as well, and it also works on all the original Famicom hardware. So, to test it out here, I've got a twin Famicom here. And right now it is in disc mode. We'll change that. But first, I want to talk about it just a little bit. So, we open it up here. We have, inside, the cartridge adapter, which comes, if I can get it open, comes in a little wrapped up thing here with a little manual in case you need that. And inside of our little, I don't know, you call it plastic or whatever, we have the adapter here. So this adapter is designed for a cartridge slot. It's a nice thick plastic. It's really sturdy, which is one thing I like about it. And it's designed to fit directly into your Famicom cartridge slot, which I can't do right now because the disk system is on, so this is locked, but that's how it works. Now, I'm going to show you here. This is a cartridge adapter that I bought several years ago that I used to use because I didn't have an actual American NES. I really dislike the design of the American NES. I really hate how easily, what's the word I'm looking for, faulty? How easily breakable the cartridge slot is. So I stick with the Japanese designs. In general, I have the AV Famicom, which allows me to use the American controller, but get all the same features of the Japanese Famicom. But I used to use this adapter here, and it was okay for a while, but it had a few problems. First of which was you had to put it in and then pull it out just a little bit to get it to make a good, clean connection, because there was a slight difference in the depth on different versions of the Famicom, and I don't know why, but they didn't quite have this thing lined up perfectly. So you'd have to kind of adjust it a little bit, and it was really fickle. You never quite knew if it was going to work quite right. And then also the pins were really tight, and the board was just kind of a straight, solid board with two screws holding it together, and so over time the board actually bent, and some of the pins started becoming not well connected, and then it just kind of stopped working after a while. So I have this here, but it rarely ever works at all now, and I don't use it. So for a long time, I just wasn't playing my games, my American games. But now I have this Retro Freak adapter, and one of the things you can see right away is that the size, it's much bigger. And this is a good thing in a way because it's sturdier. It's not going to break. It's going to be a little bit bigger size on your system, but it's not going to break, which is really nice. One of the other interesting things is that if you look, this is the way it sits in here with this adapter. But the actual connection for a cartridge is backwards. So in order to use this particular adapter, you would have to insert the cartridge backwards like this, which is really frustrating. It's not an end of the world thing, but it's just really frustrating when you're playing a game and you see the back of a cartridge the whole time in your cartridge slot. Somehow, and I'm sure it's just, reversing pins and things, but Retro Freak has managed to reverse this adapter so that you can stick it into the cartridge slot this way, but your game also goes in correctly in the top. So you get your game visual on the front. You get the front of the cartridge, but it also lines up with the Famicom. And that's a really nice feature, because before you'd have to look at the back of the game, and who wants to do that? So I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm going to turn this off and flip it into cartridge mode, and insert this, and we'll try it out here. It goes in very easily, here, and there you go. No sound problems, no problems with the screen coming up. It does exactly as you would expect it to do. This is the Famicom version of Dracula's Curse, which has a sort of different sound to the Famicom version. So the NES version, the audio is not quite as good, and there's some reasons for that. But I think you probably know about that if you've looked at other videos and things. Let's go ahead and test out a different game. These are 3 of my favorite games. So this cartridge adapter slides in fairly firm. One thing that I will say is that for some reason, and I don't know if it had to do with my system or just during manufacturing, there was a little bit of just a slight kind of a smear on the pins that I had to clean off before it would work exactly. It's probably just a little bit of oil or something that was left over on the from the manufacturing, but it was very easy to just clean that pin off really fast, and then it worked with no problems. So these are 3 of my favorite, not my 3 favorite, but 3 of my favorite NES games. Here's Star Tropics, a game which was never released in Japan, so now Japanese players can get a chance to play this. So we go here. The games go in really easily, and I've not felt enough friction pulling out the games to worry about the pins breaking. It is a little bit tight pulling the cartridge out, but it works fine, and it seems pretty sturdy, so I'm not really particularly worried about it. So this is Star Tropics. If you've never played Star Tropics, definitely play it. It's a fantastic game. It's very, very hard, and at times, towards the end, it's hard in not good ways. Okay. And then lastly, we will put in Final Fantasy. Now, one thing I will say about the Retro Freak NES adapter is that it is pretty much universal. It works on clone systems, like the Retron 5, which is an interesting fact, or the Retro Freak, or the Twin Famicom, the original Famicom. Works on pretty much everything. And yes, I did test this. I actually did put it into a Retron 5 with the cartridge in the Famicom slot and try to load up the game. And it did, not only did it recognize that the game was inserted, it correctly identified all of the games that I tried as if they were just the same as if they were put into the NES slot. So this is one of my all-time favorite games. Definitely my favorite game on the Famicom. So I'll go ahead and start it up here. And there it is. So this is Final Fantasy 1, the American version. You can see there. And basically, this is a NES game on a Japanese system without any problems. So, if you've got a Japanese system and you really want to play some NES games, if you want to get the AV top loader, if you want to mod your Famicom or anything like that, and you just really want those NES games, this is a great solution, and I highly recommend it. Alright, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.